my God, guys. It has been such a wild day, bro.
What a day and what a life.
Bro, that was clean. Dude, it has been such a wild fucking day. I mean, you guys literally have no idea. We've done so much, and like also so much has happened. What is up, everybody? It's the All Day Everyday Show. I'm flipping my paper with All Day AJ and that man, Manny Rumpin.
You already know it's cracking this.
Oh
morning,
my
boys.
God, bro. Come on. As always, fellas, powered by the good old guys at Dimers. For this month, I've been shouting out BetRivers. I'm going to move to BetMGM. And then why am I going to do that? Because BetMGM tweeted a couple days ago that if you had Derrick Henry props, they were going to make that into a free bet. So let's say you had Derrick Henry as an MVP, and let's say you put $100 on Derrick Henry to be the MVP this year, which is tough because I know everybody knows nowadays it's all quarterback award. But if you did have that, they would credit you with a $100 free bet because he went down. That's a really good thing for a book to do, and it shows the loyalty from these books because you look at FanDuel and DraftKings, I don't know if they're doing that. I don't know if they would do that. So BetMGM for us, if you go to our landing page, www.dimers.com/ADED, we have bet $20 and you win 100 in free bets. So you just got to go to that landing page, click the link, scroll over there, you'll get in a new book, and you get some free bets to start. Manny's been actually killing the game on BetMGM.
Hey,
We've been posting some tickets on our account from El Capitan.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I mean, it's the wave. So get on there, support the show, and we hope to see that you're posting some BetMGM picks. But that's not what the show is about. We had a crazy day, dude. We're just gonna have some fun tonight. It's a late night for us, but we're gonna have some fun. Talk to me and everybody else what we got going on today.
All right, so today we have another guest. We've been killing into the guest game.
We really are.
What, like 2 in a row? 3
2 in a row, 3 in a row.
boys?
I mean, we're killing the
So
game.
another guest for you guys. This man we have coming in. Oh, you kind of. Do you want to admit him in? Or do you want me to do the whole
Yeah,
intro?
we can admit him in.
I do
He
the
can
whole
hear.
intro?
He can hear. Here he's coming in now.
All right, so
We'll give him the intro.
our guest today, boys, is a MIT graduate, mathematics major, Mooney Gang grinder, Boston fan, Celtics writer, Red Sox writer. Everybody, welcome in Ahaan, baby. Let's fucking go,
Yes,
baby.
sir. What's up, baby?
There he is, sporting some
come
Red
on,
Sox
bro.
gear
You're
too.
wearing-
Look at him.
Okay, now look. I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this
We're
first.
gonna get right into it with
No,
it.
I want to tell him this first. So the view that you're seeing right now, what you're seeing, that's not what's going to be posted. That's for us, okay? That is not that's
Yeah, facts.
that's
Disclaimer,
fine.
little disclaimer.
That's a disclaimer for us. All right. I want to start. I was going to tell you to give me a background and everything for myself and Manny and for everybody listening, but I have to start with that fucking hat that you're wearing because I'm a Yankees guy. You know I'm a Yankees guy, and I know that you're a Red Sox guy, and I told you in the Discord, I said the Red Sox are going down to Houston, and you're like, no, and then you texted me the next morning, and you were like, you're right, you got me on that one. Talk to me, what's up with the Red Sox?
We forget how the season ended. It is what it is, but I intentionally wore this hat. It's I think about my decision making, right? I spent a lot of time decision making. So I think about my decision making. I've done my homework. I know you guys. I watch the episodes. I get constant reminders on the episodes that you're a Yankees guy. So I had to do my research coming in with that.
Hell yeah. All right, so talk to us a little bit about your background, maybe how you got into betting. We'll get into the stuff with Kenny later, but more just keep it about yourself, just for the people listening at home.
Yeah, so I graduated from MIT in 2019, so the end of 2019 with a major in math. And it's not your, prototypical journey to becoming a sports bettor necessarily. But I didn't really bet on sports that much. I mean, first off, it's not legal in Massachusetts. And second of all,
Cover your ass.
I wasn't as active betting in Massachusetts, just with friends while I was in college. But, afterwards, I do a lot of stuff in my regular job. I'm a data analyst. I do a lot of stuff with tech. But every time I'm not, at my job, I'm doing what you guys do is I watch sports. I talk about sports. I think about sports. That's how I keep going in life. So I was always big into fantasy sports, right? So ever since high school, I've been playing fantasy sports, fantasy football, fantasy baseball, fantasy basketball. And I'm so involved in the fantasy game that a couple years ago, I started getting into hockey because I wanted to master fantasy hockey. Just for the fantasy game, I like the competitiveness of fantasy sports. So that's how I really got into the stuff besides just like watching and talking about sports and like reading stats, stuff like that. And couple months into my post undergrad years or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what old people call it, but I feel old, so I say post undergrad years. I feel old, so I say post undergrad
The
years.
2020 grad feels old. I get it, brother. I get it.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw Kenny on Twitch because I'm active on Twitch. I stream myself a little bit because I've met some people, some really cool people on
Sure.
Twitch, different backgrounds, and because of Kenny's streams, I was like, man, people do this like on Twitch. Like people like talk about like the picks they make. People like are in Discords getting better together. Like that's so cool.
Hell
like
yeah, baby.
why don't I get into stuff like that? And really me making picks every day, it was kind of already happening because like I enjoyed doing research for sports and getting better in the game. But giving out picks sort of on Twitter because that's a real community. That sort of happened because like I found people starting with Kenny on Twitch. So bippity boppity boo, I'm here, and some people like my picks because I go through some hot streaks as everybody does. I go through some cold streaks, but the community is awesome, and even when even when I'm cold, people ride with my research because I guess people like when they see a different perspective. That's what the community is about, right? So that's why I'm here.
I mean, Ahaan, you're incredible. Like I already love you. It's a pleasure to meet you. First of all, I gotta ask, like, because this is actually, before I get into the question, this is kind of like our bio. We have our whole thing, like bringing the whole sports community together, right?
Sure.
And this is, a lot of people have their things to say about gambling and how it can be dangerous, that and the third. This to me is another prime example of what gambling can be to people. Like you have people
this with prop
coming to from all different types of places, backgrounds. I mean, you are a fucking math major at MIT.
Right.
If you were to tell me this is who I would be getting my locks from in Discord in about 3 years, I would tell you you're out of your mind. I mean, this is like the beauty of sports, the beauty of gambling. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. But going from that, so you're a mathematics major from MIT. How do you necessarily use that in sports? So there's certain different ways you research that you use numbers more than probably the average person researching sports. Like kind of break down how you kind of analyze lines and things like that. How do you use your numbers when it comes to you betting?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like one of the reasons I like baseball, like that's my primary sport. That's what I live and breathe. Like,
Yep.
If I had to only watch one sport the rest of my life, I'd pick baseball, no questions asked. That kind of relationship I have with baseball.
We're going to talk about that one.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons is because like I enjoy math. I enjoy like coding, computer science. At where I went to school, everybody who does math, knows a little bit of computer science. Everybody who does computer science knows a little bit of like math. So it all ties together, and sort of the tech sphere. I feel like baseball is the first thing you think of when it comes to like how do you apply like statistics and like advanced computer science techniques to better understand sports. And I feel like hockey is getting really advanced in the analytics game now, but basketball, obviously, like we hear about that in the media, but baseball is really like kind of where it's at. And I think the layman version of it is like people say, oh, Moneyball, like that's what people like think of when you think of like using stats to do baseball, make baseball picks. But I feel like that's probably one of the reasons I like baseball. And just in my free time, I feel like it's enjoyable to figure out like what do I want to learn about this game I'm going to watch tonight that maybe some people don't. And one of the reasons I made a Twitter in the first place is like people are like, you always have these like interesting takes, and like when you're wrong, right? But because we're all wrong sometimes, but when you're right, it's like, damn, how do we not see that before? The narrative was sitting right there. And so that's kind of the reason I made a Twitter. It's kind of the reason I wanted to make a podcast eventually, and now I have one. But I want to see the narratives before they actually play out in real life. And with baseball, the whole sphere of like analytics, the stats that are available and still developing, I just love that entire game. And, that's why I started making picks, fantasy sports, and now, picks, even before I was actually betting and making picks in that way.
Yeah, and I mean I've tailed your baseball picks for a good majority of the season and especially towards these playoffs. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the World Series just because baseball's ended and like you stated, this has been, your go-to and if you had to pick one sport, it would be baseball. So now that baseball's gone, I just want to recap a little bit of your thoughts on the World Series, and then we'll go to what's next.
Before you answer that, Ahaan, did you have the Braves winning? Because the smart guys at this table, we said take the Braves. So were you part of the smart guys, or were you on the other side of were you with the cheaters?
Did you wait? Did you because Houston beat the Red Sox? Did you want the Braves to win
for the A?
Or did your research be like, no, I want the Braves?
All right, what the numbers say?
Okay, so I'll give you the full explanation because people watch the show, right? If nobody watched the show, I just say whatever I want.
Right.
People watch this show, so I got some of my reputation is on the line here, right? I was rooting for the Astros.
Holy shit!
Okay, he's honest.
I was rooting for the Astros. I picked the Astros. Okay, so I wear my L's. I picked the Astros. I put a little bit on Kyle Tucker, World Series MVP. That's, people. I made that tweet. That's why people would know that I picked the Astros. I picked the Astros. It is what it is. I'm fine with the Braves winning. I was pretty neutral in this whole process. I picked the Astros, one, because they beat us, and I feel like if you lose to the World Series champion, you quote unquote look better. It's a narrative thing. It doesn't really make any sense when I say it out loud, but I wanted to lose to the eventual champion. And two, all my friends were rooting for the Braves, and I'm not the guy that jumps onto a bandwagon and just supports what everybody else is supporting. Because everybody else was rooting for the Braves, I wanted to be on one side because I guess I felt edgy. But I was rooting for the Astros.
That's respectable.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the Braves, and when we did our analysis on that, and I was mostly on the side of, dude, I just want to see Freddie Freeman win. That's all it really was. So I was looking at some of the picks, and you had one play. I think it was the Dodgers Braves series, and it was Freddie Freeman to get a hit and Dodgers to win, and it was some same game parlay like that, and it was really small, and that hit that night, and that was helped me carry my way through the playoffs because it was you don't have to do these 6-leg parlays of 4 guys to get a hit, and then your next 2 run lines are run lines or whatever. I'm you can do those little baby 2-leg parlays and have those cash in as great bankroll builders as they were. So with baseball being done, what are you looking now towards? Because I know on your tweets and in Kenny's Discord, the Ahaan slate, it's mostly been some NBA straights. You got your NFL straights in there as well. But obviously your main focus has been baseball. So what can you kind of talk about as to kind of portray to people that are watching that would tail your picks? Listen, I am a baseball guy, but I still put out NBA and NFL.
Yeah, I mean, so for one, I gotta watch a sport every day, right? It's just I'm not gonna sleep at night without watching a sport. If I have to, I'll look up a list of sports on Google. I'll watch women's rugby somewhere. I will watch something. I don't always have to force myself into picking something. I'm not obsessive, right? I enjoy sports for the sake of watching sports.
Hell yeah.
And
responsible gambling.
Yeah, exactly, right? I don't pick for the sake of it. So I will watch a sport at all times before I go to sleep. I'll watch something, but through the NFL season, through the NBA season, before every game, I'm filling out some notes. The thing about why I like sharing my picks in Discord and writing explanations when I can is I like typing things. That's how I don't think I've written notes since being an undergrad, right? I haven't written notes for anything. Right. When I was in class, sometimes I write notes, sometimes I type notes. I like typing, right? And it's whatever works for people. However you want to take notes, like take notes when making picks, like whatever thought process you're going to, like save it somewhere, because like you're going to learn afterwards from either the incorrect things you wrote or like the good things you wrote. You'll learn somehow. And so I like typing and I like saving my thoughts in that way. So throughout, like how Kenny like does the blog. So for those who don't know, like the blog is like where he like writes his thoughts for the game before actually making picks. Even for games that he doesn't make picks on, he'll write like some notes being like, why is he passing up on that game? Because like these are the narratives. And so I like doing that. And that's what I'm going to do during the MLB offseason. I write for MLB websites during the offseason because I keep a close eye on free agency. Like it's so important to get an edge before the season starts. Like there's so many narratives just in the off season. Even if you want to just bet on MLB, if you just want to play fantasy baseball, there's an edge to be had in the off season. There's like at the beginning of the season, there's so much value on like basically every single prop. Like you can get like strikeout props. You'll know like guys will not thrive in this ballpark, or these hitters in this lineup will probably, not drive and run. So like, why are you betting RBI props early on the season just because it looks like a huge plus number? Like why? So just narratives during the off season. I'm going to keep an eye on that for baseball like the entire time. And I stick with the baseball news every day. And part of the motivation for keeping up with that is so that I can write about it. And I'll be talking baseball. So the baseball work doesn't end during the off season at all. But at the same time, I also keep my mind active by watching NBA, NFL, and making picks in that way. Because in a sense, at the back of my mind, by constructing like a Thursday night football, like same game parlay,
Right.
I'm training my mind into thinking about like how to make smart picks. And you can like take strategies from one sport and use it on another about just how to be smart at what you do. So the work never ends.
That's cool to hear that like baseball doesn't stop. So like moral of the story is when he puts out a baseball pick, win or lose, take the damn pick.
Take it.
I mean, take it. Like a lot of these people, they don't understand, the research that goes in, and it's like, well, then you sit down and you go
Even if
do all that.
What these guys in the gambling Twitter space do, I don't know if I can trust this guy. I'm not trying to call certain people. I'm just saying I don't know where you're from. I don't know what your research is like. If I know Ahaan's going through this research. Listen,
Right.
He was looking at Kyle Tucker to get a hit in April. He was looking at Kyle Tucker in November. I can trust Ahaan in the situation. That helps me out a little bit personally.
The one thing I'm going to ask you is, so I noticed on your picks, it's always, you write out your unit system. So we've talked to a bunch of guys in the gambling community, and sometimes this question is a little bit repetitive in that sense, but it makes so much sense to hear it from different, cappers and different guys that put out plays, because some guys are so strict on that unit system, and other guys are like, if I feel something, I'll throw a rack on it. I don't care.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how important the unit system is to you, if it is, and how that keeps you responsible when it comes to gambling.
Yeah, so I feel like again, it's preparedness, right? Like you got to figure out for the playoffs, for example, like playoffs are so much harder to like come up with narratives about. You don't know when somebody's going to get pulled. You don't know when, somebody is going to, lose it for 3 batters and then the manager switches the game plan. The playoffs are so hard. And I think it like highlights how much you need to be prepared for different scenarios, right? So something as obvious as, somebody to get a hit, those lines are steep, and that's why I generally don't take them when you're like you're in the playoffs and it's somebody who might get subbed out, right? So little things like that. The preparedness also kind of declares how much you put into something, right? It's not just about confidence. It's about game planning. What if you lose a few in a row? All of us can lose 5 bets in a row. All of us can get on cold streaks. I just had a cold streak last week with NBA, but I kept the process similar. I kept doing the same kinds of things. And that's why once you get the 3 in a row, you actually catch up, right? Like I've been giving out plus money props for NBA this season. If you change your units based on the results, after that, then you're not going to catch up, right? It's only fun if when you're losing, you're learning from it and then winning it back. So I feel like consistency is important with units when the process is good. And when it comes to like bombs, again, it's more consistent. It's like when it comes to bombs, like there's no reason if you usually put like $1 bombs, there's no reason to put $10 on something just because your bankroll is hurting right now, right? Like it's a matter of the process will feed itself if the process is good. The process is going to keep improving. And if you don't believe your own process is improving, you got to change the process, because my process is like making myself better. My process is next week, I got to learn from my mistakes. I got to learn from what worked and then try not to make the same mistakes or try to use more of that knowledge I learned. Like NBA specific example, right? Like this season, like so many players are improved. Like Miles Bridges is much better this season, right? Like you got to use how teams are defending him now that he is better and teams are catching on 7 games into the season. You can't just use the same process for how you buy Miles Bridges props, because teams are defending him different too, right? Tonight's game that I'm watching right now, the Heat Celtics, right? Like I switched up from Duncan from Duncan Robinson's points, even though the trends all say points, to threes, because I know how the Celtics play defense, right? So it's little things like that that determine the process. So once you're confident about your process, the units will follow. You just got to keep doing the same things, and eventually it'll pay off, because plus props, if you hit half of them, you're a winner, right? As long as you place the same amount on every one of them. And with my process, the hope is I hit half of them, and if the process is getting better, I'm 7-7 coming into today. The process gets better, I should be above 500, and those are the little goals you keep in mind. And it's all being prepared.
See, like you're a beautiful person, bro. Like you're even like inspiring me. Like not the most responsible better. I follow you in the system. I'm more on the side of like if I'm hey MGM, if I've been on your ass the last couple of days, I'm going for the jugular on the third day. That's kind of how if I'm teetering down, I kind of chill out. But so you had a bet before that was like Franz Wagner 10 points, and I think it was it Charlotte to win? I think it was, or something along those lines.
Where the other team was, I forgot.
Will you take a player prop from a team that you feel will lose and take the team that you feel like the heavy favorite to win because the blowout factor is out of it, or do you feel like that's just a safer way you can get a better price for the guy to score a couple less points in his line? Like, do you consistently bet that way, or was that just a certain edge that day? Like, just kind of get the breakdown on that.
Yeah. So like AJ mentioned the Freddie Freeman to get a hit and Dodgers.
Yeah, baby.
It's the same idea, right? Mm-hmm. It's negative correlation. It's easier.
That's the word. I didn't know the fucking word. See, that's
negative correlation.
Smart people words.
If you want to get something in the plus, just take like 2 slightly negatives. Boom, it's a plus. If they're negatively correlated, it's a simple strategy, but you got to be super confident about those negative picks. And in the case of like Freeman and Dodgers, I think Dodgers was like minus 190 or something like that, and Freeman. They didn't adjust the price that much, but it's just a little things that get me in the plus, right? Like Freeman started off the series to get a hit somewhere around minus 290. And by the time it was game 3 or whatever it was like minus 230 because he went 0 for 7. And the books are just, they think they're doing a real smart thing. Oh, they're trying to bait you taking Freddie Freeman. They think he's cold. While I'm watching the games, I have Baseball Savant. Great resource, by the way, Baseball Savant open. I know
he was talking about himself. I was like, hell yeah. I thought he said Baseball Savant, Ahaan over here. I've been watching the games. I thought that's what he said.
No. I use Baseball Savant, the website. I wouldn't call myself a savant, but I use Baseball I use Baseball Savant, the website, and I'm looking at his at bats. I'm looking at, I know a lot about Freddie Freeman because I watch, and it's just so obvious. It was so obvious to me that he wasn't going to keep it up longer. So if they boost the price a little bit, I'll take it now instead of when they push it back. And boom, negative correlation plus play, like easy. It was the Dodgers had the lead and Freddie Freeman had gotten it hit his hit by the first inning, and I was super sailing, and there was a hedge opportunity in the middle as well, but I didn't take it because I was confident in that particular pick. But
so I have one more quick question. So you keep mentioning this process as well. Like, what is your actual process when you go to research these bets? Like, do you have like a blocked out time? Like, this is Ahaan's time to, because I think you have like a full-time job and you got other stuff going on. You have a podcast. So do you like block out time? What's this whole like process look like? Kind of get the breakdown on that.
Yeah, so I think like keeping, during the pandemic, keeping yourself busy has been so important just for everybody. During work hours, like every time I have a break, work comes first, but every time I have a break, I just kind of like, I do whatever I want to like make myself like relaxed in my mind, right? Initially it was a lot of sitting down, in my apartment before we could go out. Then once we could start going out, I started like hooping, doing some other like activities. I consider myself an evolving hooper.
All right, we got to get buckets one day. That's say no more. Say no more. At the meetup, we're getting buckets. Ahaan and Manny, we're getting buckets.
Next time I'm in the area. But so, I've been keeping myself active, but then I got hurt and then I had to stay inside. But, preparedness again, like I have like a list of things that I might want to look into like every day. And whether it has to do with like podcast stuff I have to take care of or like fancy football research, stuff like that. I don't force myself into a particular schedule because then it becomes stressful. Then it becomes less enjoyable. So every time I need a mental break, I keep tabs open. It's a bad habit of mine. I keep a lot of tabs open. I started actually bookmarking things so I don't keep tabs open, but I keep tabs. I keep tabs available for me. And every time I want to research something, it's readily available. I'll take a walk, and while I'm taking my walk, I'll like look on my phone at like recent game logs, for example, or during the baseball season, I'll just be like, if people are cold, I look into like their advanced stats on Baseball Savant. I look into Fangraphs, all these other baseball resources. There's so many for baseball. And then I kind of just put my notes together, and whenever I'm free, I take notes. I don't force myself into ending every little break with a conclusion, because that's how you force things, right? Like if you come into the day with a mindset that I'm going to like place a wager today, or like I'm going to figure out the result of every game today, that's not realistic. That kind of stuff will follow. The process is basically just doing your research, having some fun with it. And if you come up with anything that maybe somebody hasn't noticed yet, if you see a line that's really good, take note of it. You don't have to always take it right away, but if it's really good, then you take it then. And I think like, especially with, actual gambling, if you can use the online market, it's so important to like not stick yourself to a particular time, because when there are broken lines, when there's, anything you can take advantage of. A couple of days ago, Seti Osman, his threes was all messed up. I got it, but I took it early because I had work to do. And then later on the line inflated, and I was like, that's why I always wait till the lineups are announced. So I made a mistake there, and I learned from it. Like when somebody's ruled out due to COVID, don't assume the lineup from the other team, just because you think the lineup. I did that last season for the Heat, and it worked out in the playoffs. I got a great price on Dragic. I knew that Eric Spoelstra was going to change the lineup in the middle of the series, because I watched the Heat and I know how they coach, how they run their team. I can't assume the same thing for the Cavs because I didn't know what they were going to do. So there's a mistake I learned from. So I keep it fluid throughout the day, and I adjust the process as necessary. But
the process.
I hate saying trust the process while I'm on this.
No, you're gonna keep up. You're gonna keep saying it. You're gonna keep up.
Because Manny's the Philly guy, so that's just gonna turn him on.
I don't want to say it in front of Manny.
Yeah,
no. You're gonna keep saying it.
Yeah, of course.
Soothe my ears.
So I have to. I mean, I just love how confident he sounds. Right. I mean, it's just like when you know, and then that goes for almost anything. So I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and go to the relationship with Kenny. So kind of tell us about how you got into the Discord, how that whole relationship started with Kenny. I mean, you have your own channel, Ahaan Slate. So for people that don't know what the Discord is, in Kenny's Discord, Ahaan has his own channel where he can put his picks in, and it loads up. He puts his link to his Twitter, and it takes you right to his Twitter with the tweet that posts all his picks. And obviously, if you're not in the Discord, you can still access those picks. They're right on his Twitter. But just tell us about how all that kind of started, and I know that's kind of helped boost your, I guess, your confidence in terms of people knowing that people are telling your picks.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, like I didn't know like people share their picks like on Twitter. I didn't know that people like talk about the process like on Discords and like people make other people better. I thought that was exclusive to like, I don't know, other fields. It's so obvious, right? Like when you join Kenny's community. But yeah, I heard about Kenny. I think it was through Ninja Bands on Twitter. He's a Philly Twitter guy. And I heard about him through Ninja Bands. And I was like, all right, I'm working out. I guess I'll watch a Twitch stream instead of listening to music. Fine. And yeah, I was listening to Kenny and talking about NBA picks, and I was like, damn, this guy has a real process. And he sounds like he knows what he's doing. So I joined the Discord, and as you know, I started like posting my thoughts. Like everybody was like so humble to like learn from one another, and I was like, that's like why I'm here. I want to learn from other people. I want to learn what other people's process are. Like, what am I missing? Like, what are these trends that I'm missing? Like Nacho Taco in the chat.
Nacho, shout out Nacho.
I couldn't leave without giving him a shout out. Like that man puts in so much work in Nacho's Lottos. Like it's called Nacho's Lottos, but these aren't lottery tickets. Like he puts in so much work into this stuff and like gives us like analysis, even when it's against his team. Sometimes he'll like straight up call a spade a spade, and that's how I am, right? Like I'll put in the unbiased research, and I want to talk to other people and hear what people think. And I think what's so important, which a lot of people don't get, but Kenny definitely does, is it's okay to have a hot take. Like it sounds so simple. It's okay to have a take that not everybody agrees with. If it's right, like who cares if it's a hot take or not? And that's how I've been for many years. I like with fantasy drafts, with just general sports stuff in general. You got to see the vision early, and none of us were born like just knowing the vision early, right? You have to like know that it's okay if your take might be wrong, and if it's wrong, you'll improve, right? You have to know how to improve, and I feel like that's what drew me into like Kenny's community is other people were willing to learn from each other, and then when somebody else told me that like, okay, here's this trend you mentioned, but like, what about this argument? It's like there's always an argument to something, right? Like this gambling, picking, fantasy sports, DFS, whatever you play. It would be so simple if everybody agreed on the correct thing, right? Like it'd be so simple. Nobody would play. It's not competition. And so you have to be okay with having takes that other people are not okay with, as long as you're humble about it, because people will improve that way if you have takes, ahead of time. I guess like the easiest example of this is I said Christian Yelich would win MVP like the year before he won MVP. That was a hot take at the time. He didn't win MVP. He wasn't all that close to winning MVP.
But that's okay. Hot takes are okay.
You knew he was on the up and up.
Exactly. And because I was in the fantasy game at that time, not so much in the gambling game. I was in the fantasy game at that time. Because of that, people started looking more into Christian Yelich, and people I knew, they might have reached a little bit on Christian Yelich the next year. They got an MVP player out of that. And so it's okay to want to see the vision ahead of time, because that's how you win in the game. Sports is competition. Picking on sports is competition. You can't win competition by being okay with being average.
So
and that's what Kenny gets.
First of all, that's what Kenny gets.
I was gonna say first of all,
straight.
Just for all the words about the Mooney Gang and all that, just shout out to Kenny and the Mooney Gang.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Holy shit, they're bringing all these people together and all that stuff.
Yep.
One question I have for you is like, what? So where do you kind of see this going with yourself, with the platforms you're building, with you gambling and all that? You obviously have a job, and you have a mathematics degree from MIT, so I'm sure you're doing fine. But do you see yourself kind of leaning towards the gambling side and leaving the corporate side? Do you see yourself playing the middle for the rest of the time? Like, are you happy where you're at right now, or do you want to elevate? Like, what's the kind of the future plans for Ahaan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I ask myself that, every once in a while. It's a completely reasonable question. I do data analysis stuff, for an education firm. It's not exactly the same as picking on sports. There's some
Not
transferable
quite.
skills, but it's not exactly the same. But I feel like I'm particularly the type of person that likes to do and think about multiple different things at the same time. So I feel like for a long time I'll be doing multiple things. Where my main career path will be, I guess like I'm young enough to feel okay with not knowing that for a couple of years, and that's the beauty of it all, right? The fact that I have a job that I like, but I also love sports. Think about sports, anything related to sports. I'm going to make my YouTube channel a little more active going
Let's
forward,
go.
and it's the reason I started YouTube. It's like I'm never like content with everything I'm doing. I'm never just like content. So that's why I like keep starting doing other things, and I slowly start commitments, but I I add things. And so for the near future, I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be pick on sports writing, fantasy sports. I write for Fantrax. Shout out to the whole Fantrax community. It's a fantasy sports website where you can host your own league and read articles from people like me. And so Fantrax. I feel like we writers get paid for that, and it's I would do it even without getting paid, but I'm going to be doing that for a while now because I just love getting better in the fantasy game, and that sort of motivates me to get better at gambling. It's a similar kind of process, and so that's what I'm going to be doing for a while now. Is I'm going to be doing a bunch of things, and eventually I guess I'll figure out what I'll be doing for the quote unquote rest of my life, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Present in the moment.
But
Ahaan, bro. I love it.
You talk about like the multiple things that you're doing, and one of those things was your podcast. So highlight a little bit about, what goes into your podcast, when you started it, how it started, what you're talking about, and all that kind of stuff. Because obviously we, damn as well want to hear about it, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are listening right now that are listening to what you're saying that are like, where can I get more information from Ahaan besides, getting in Kenny's Discord?
Yeah, appreciate you for asking me about that because it's like weird because like I'm usually the one like on the other side. I'm usually asking people questions. I'm usually having people on the podcast. It's not. I've only been invited on other people's podcasts like a couple of times.
It happened to us
far.
one time, and we were on we were with Jerry on his Thursday night football show. And the two of us were there the whole time. And we're like, dude, this is the weirdest thing because we usually are asking questions. And now, like, it's about fucking time that, like, we get to sit back and just relax and be like, all right, you tell me, I'll answer what you ask me.
When are we done? Are we good? Hey, I'll answer anything.
But yeah, talk to us about the podcast and everything that goes into that and where people can get more out of Ahaan. Yeah,
so I started the podcast, like I said, sitting at home. I can't stop doing things. If I'm quote unquote inactive for like 5 minutes, like mentally, like I will go crazy.
I love
that. I will like search up like weird genres of music on Spotify to like free up my brain. I got to do something, right? And so a couple of my friends told me like, yo, like you would be really good at like starting a sports podcast because like you like know different things, and it's like, why don't you start a sports podcast like now that you're bored? And like, right. and that's what it was. I just started the podcast. I didn't know like what felt like a good podcast. Like even now I'm like nowhere near like the setup like you guys have. Like you guys are pros already, but
dude, we're nobody. We're nobody.
We appreciate that, seriously. I mean, that means a lot.
But you guys look like pros, but I didn't know like how anything worked. So I kind of it's weird sounding, but I initially put the first couple of episodes on SoundCloud, and I was just like, oh, SoundCloud. I guess that's the thing people put podcasts on. But then I learned that there are real websites you can use instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just started putting podcast episodes, and I just started talking about like different sports things, like whatever was relevant. Like at the time, I started like talking about like the shutdown of the NBA and MLB. Because that, I started the podcast because like they shut down. And so I started talking about that. And then I figured like the theme would be like every episode and have a new guest because like I want to keep hearing different things from other people. I like, out of whim, I sent a message to like a couple pro athletes being like, yo, you want to be on my podcast? It's like 3 episodes old. And
Hey, we've done the same
We've done the
shit.
same, yeah.
I
We've
mean,
done the
really,
same
we
thing.
really have done
You
the
know,
same,
I've done
the
you know,
same thing.
it's tough. It really is tough.
yeah, but a couple of like super humble people like really thought that was a good idea, and I hope they still think that was a good idea because we had a lot of fun talking, and it kind of went from there, and now right now during the football season, I focused it towards fantasy football, so you can get like all kinds of like fantasy football updates, fantasy football advice on the podcast, and now I do it like Twitch, and I live stream the podcast on Twitch and then upload it. So we get a lot of people to interact with it, and that's what the podcast is going to be for football season. Is mostly that, but once fantasy football season is over, it's going to be back to the different guests, every show. If you want your favorite athlete, to come on my podcast, you better spam their Instagram until they block you. I'm kidding, but tell them to come on the podcast because that's what I like doing. I like talking to
So
the people.
where can we find your podcast and what's it called?
So unlike my Twitch, the link to my podcast is actually fairly short. So it's anchor.fm/count-it. It's a terrible name, but at least it's memorable. Count-it.
That's all that matters.
I'm on Twitter as well at Ahaan Rungten. I got my link there.
Yeah, baby. It's just crazy because we have talked to so many guys that are, I guess, well established in this community, and we've been able to take in so much information from, we talked about the process. So we've been able to take in so much information from how different gamblers, I guess I should say, because I hate using that word because it's almost like, I want to put, because everybody, and you mentioned it before, everybody likes to put
Negative connotation.
Right, the negative, the big boy words. Everybody wants to put like gamblers in, and I've mentioned this a lot, and Manny knows that too. Like, when we first had our very first guest on here, I was like, what do you say to the people that are like, dark side of gambling? You could be on the side of the road with absolutely nothing, and you're not managing your money or whatever. So hearing the process that different people have, like yourself and Kenny and Jerry and El Capitan and Bo and Prop Holiday, and the list goes on. It's just so heartwarming for us because Manny and I have talked, and I've sat there and I've said like, dude, we've gotten through 6, 7, 8, or 9 guys. And we're not even realizing the amount of information that we have taken.
Facts.
So, like, you yourself talk about the Discord. We're almost getting that on top of everything and all the group chats that, and all the stuff that we're in because of, what we've been able to, accomplish in this gambling community. So we just thank you so much for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it.
One of the fucking favorites for sure.
I mean, yeah,
I
seriously.
love it. I hope this is not the last time I talk to you, whether it's your thing, our thing. I don't care. I love you, bro.
It's just, it's great to hear how, you can tell when someone is confident in something, and the research shows, and you wouldn't be confident about a pick if your research wasn't shown. And you saw it in the fantasy football chat in the Discord. I said to you, I'm like, dude, keep the baseball picks coming because I'm tailing. So I'm ride or dying with you throughout all those picks. I'll be tailing, and we'll be in talks in the Discord. But thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it,
guys. It's like it's an honor. It's an honor to be here because like after you invited me, that's when I started watching the episodes because I was lazy before then, but when it comes to research, I'll do anything to do my research, right? And so I watched the episodes after you guys invited me. And it's great to like be on the same platform. Kenny, my guy Jerry, like El Capitan, like these guys are the goats, and the fact that you guys invited me as well, you guys thought of me. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you, and we got a hoop when either I'm in.
Oh my God, we're gonna get buckets. That's not even. That's a given.
Yeah,
it's already in the notes.
We'll be in touch with you. We got some plans coming up soon with some stuff with Dimers that we got going on in the future. So we will definitely be in your DMs and throughout Discord. But other than that, dude, thank you so much, man. We'll be in touch. All right, thank you. You have a good one. Thank you, brother. Dude, I mean, that's
what
just
a fucking
insane.
guy.
I mean, it's
he
unbelievable.
almost like inspired me to be like, okay, we need to unit bet everything. I need to research, write it down, Excel
110%.
spreadsheet, red, green. I'm up. Ahaan has me like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Literally, bro, 110%. Guys, you got to understand, like, and I just said it. We've been in such a prime position, and the guys that have been rocking with us since the beginning that have been since Kenny was on Zoom, since Jerry was on Zoom. The first time that we had El Capitan. I mean, we've had a professional MMA fighter on here. We've had sports radio analysts on here. We've had so many different guys, but it's been about, we haven't tried to make it really about this gambling side, but with these guys that are so big on social media with their picks and everything, like that's kind of where things have gone, and that's totally okay with us. And that's why I bring it back to the point of, if you have been watching and listening throughout this time, you guys would have taken in the same amount of information that we have. The difference is we're hearing it, we're watching it all in real time. You guys just have it a couple days later because we got to edit everything. Shout out Tyler. But like, that's just how it is. It's that easy. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you're watching on YouTube, spam the like button. Maybe it really makes us happy. It lets us know that we're doing a good job, and we're providing and putting out good content for you guys, getting good guests. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you have not already rated the show, we love seeing those 5-star ratings, baby. So keep that up, all right? Manny, tell them about the goddamn YouTube videos before I get into this social.
Make sure you just like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We have content coming every weekend. This will be posted on the weekend. We do the reaction show every Sunday. Now about to be Monday night, and then tea parties out during the week. Appreciate you if you made it to the end of this video. Shout out Sammy the Captain from Philly as well. Avid watcher. I want to get you a shout out in there as well. But appreciate you all you guys rocking with us. It's Manny. It's Alex from All Day Everyday Show.
Yes,
signing
sir.
off.
So, Twitter at ADED Podcast. We got a lot of stuff going on there. I'm going to talk a little bit about some things after these socials. Twitter at ADED Podcast. We're going to have all of Ahaan's Twitch, Twitter, all that stuff. That's going to be in the description of the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube. So you can check out all of his stuff, his Twitter, his podcast, all that kind of stuff will be in the description. Our Instagram at ADED Pod. We're getting really dicey with these thumbnails, and we're posting them on the Instagram. They are not getting posted on the Twitter. So if you want to see what these thumbnails look like, and you're only a avid listener, not a watcher, then go over to the Instagram. TikTok. This type of content on TikTok, it's obviously the name of the show. You're not going to see this anywhere else. You're not going to see this on Instagram. You're certainly not going to see it on Twitter. So go to the TikTok, spam that follow button, and get us to 1,000, because we can go live when we get to 1,000. And if you want to see the boys live and you can't wait till we get to 1,000, then just head over to the Twitch. We're playing games, we're making bets, and we're winning bets. All right, we watched so many opening NBA nights right on Twitch. So come hang out, come chill with us, and you guys can be in the front seat of cashing some parlays with us live. So the last thing I want to say before we wrap this up is the next week. This will be posted probably early next week, or weekend.
Probably be on the way.
Yeah. So we will be on the way to Alabama, to Auburn University with Sammy 2 times. I know we already announced this. We are going to be doing a podcast down there. We're shipping all the gear out with us, and we're going to be doing a podcast with Sam. So get ready for that. And we're going to be doing a lot of videos. We're making one big vlog. I'm just going to tell everybody about it right now. We're doing one big video, okay? One big video of everything that goes on from the moment we land to the moment we take off to go back home.
Then you'll get the tea parties on the side.
You'll get the tea parties on the side. Totally true. I mean, it's going to be from the tailgate, from the game day. We're going to see Auburn and Mississippi State. The tailgate, to the game day, to the bars, to the parties. You're going to see all of that on camera. We cannot wait to show you all of the content that we can make outside of this room that we and this studio that we do all this work in. And then for the LA, I'm not going to go too much into LA, but we're doing the same thing. Like, we're going to be doing podcasts out there as well. So in terms of the guest front, you will not see a guest next week. I mean, I'll still, Sam doesn't count as a guest because he's he's part of the squad. But the next guest that you will see is the week that we come back from Auburn. You will see props.cash. Props.cash. 13,000, almost 14,000 followers on Twitter. He's got the greatest fucking software in the game if you want to do your research. We had a brief conversation with him earlier this evening before we started this podcast. What a great stand-up guy. So we are so excited for you to see this, because what did Ahaan already tell us? He talked to us about the research and the process that goes in. Well, if you want the easiest research and the best platform to do so, this is the guy to talk to. This is the guy that you're going to learn the most information from. So we cannot wait for you guys to see that, and we'll see you guys from fucking Auburn, man. Stay great, be great, because you fucking are, man. Another bang, another guest. You've been listening to the All Day Everyday Show with All Day AJ and homie Manny Ruffin. My name is Alex Jacobs, but you can call me All Day AJ. See you in Alabama!
That's the wrong song.
That's West Virginia. Sweet